Welcome back to the X and O Sports Show. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley. And last night was draft night, and we got some good stuff. We're looking at the fact that we have some interesting picks, and we're going to have some picks that get some GMs fired in the future. But, let's go through them. It's 32 picks, but however, like some teams have more picks than others. So we're going to start off with Jacksonville. Jacksonville actually, bring up my notes so I'm pretty accurate on this. Jacksonville actually had the most safest pick. We all knew who they were going to pick months ago. Once the NFL season ended, we found out who had the first overall pick. We knew Trevor Lawrence was going number one. Like I said, he's going to be very solid this year if he stays healthy and get a few weapons around him. It's great. They actually picked up Travis Etienne. That's one of the guys he's very familiar with Clemson. He can catch the ball as well as run it. So I think they're going to use him a lot in the screen game, maybe move him in the slot just to move him around to get a feel for it. Like I said, I think he'll be very solid this year. I don't think he'll be lights out, but not bad for a rookie year. I got him as my, if healthy, the number one option for rookie of the year. Number two, the Jets. The Jets needed a lot of things, but they selected Zach Wilson. Me personally, I don't like the Zach Wilson pick. I personally think that the selection that they selected, they could have picked a different quarterback. I think that New York is going to eat him alive. My personal opinion. And I think that he just didn't have the it factor for me. He could prove me wrong, very well so. But at best, I see him as a middle of the road quarterback. At worst, he's going to be worse than Mark Sanchez. They did actually trade back up later on in the draft to get a solid offensive lineman. However, if I'm not mistaken, he's supposed to be the interior of that line. So if they put him at guard, then it tells me they're going to run the ball a lot. You don't go out and pick a high-ranking offensive lineman that's a guard. No, because, your tackles are not that great, so most time you start from the outside in. But, this is the Jets we're talking about. So, like I said, that kid that they picked is Elijah Vera Tucker. Like I said, he's an offensive lineman out of USC. Very good sided player. I think he'd be great in the interior, but they're going to need to run the ball to protect Zach Wilson, which, like I said, he's not my pick. But, the GM for the Jets has got to get fired for this. So the 49ers select an even worse pick. They select Trey Lance at the number 3 pick. If this kid doesn't play well, like I said, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan will and deserve to be fired for this. I know this is a little harsh, but what is it that they're seeing that nobody else is seeing? Trey Lance didn't really play last year. He played one game. He didn't play well in it, but it's only one game. He didn't have his rhythm. Okay. But before that, the body of work he had really does not show that he's a number 3 overall pick. He played for North Dakota State. Oh, well, he's talented. He could play from anywhere. Yes. But there's nothing on tape or anything else that shows that this kid is worth the number 3 overall pick. There were other quarterbacks out there. You passed on Justin Fields for this guy. So I looked at his style, his frame, and the way he plays. At best, he'd be a modern-day Cam Newton, which is not a bad quarterback. He did win an MVP and did go to a Super Bowl. I don't think that's a bad, comparison. At worst, he's going to be Jamarcus Russell. So pick your poison. He may fall in between, or he may supersede both. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be the one to take the burn for this if it does not work. If they go 4-12 or 6-10 this year, he's going to be on the hot seat, and so will John Lynch. Moving on to the 4th pick, Kyle Pitts. Now this pick right here, I made in my previous video. I feel like the Falcons should have traded back because I didn't feel like they're going to do Kyle Pitts a service. But all of a sudden, a couple of days ago, there was trade talk of Julio Jones. The reason I don't like the option of them getting Kyle Pitts because they have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. They have I think it's Hurst. Yeah, Hurst. They have him at tight end. They traded the Ravens for previously. And he was like a number 3 option. He had like 500 some yards, 7 touchdowns, a very good tight end, and he can run. But you can go get Kyle Pitts. I don't see, they could do it, but I don't see the Falcons running 2 tight end packages that often. So I'm like, okay, maybe you could put Pitts in the slot, kind of like the Eagles used to do with, a couple of our tight ends. But I just felt like there's only one football, and the fact that you got a pretty solid and good tight end already, where is he going to fit in at? So if somehow they traded Julio Jones, I could see that he would get more, balls thrown his way. He's very athletic. Like I said, I wasn't great on the pick, but I understand it because first of all, he's a generational talent. If healthy, he is gonna be a man child out there. I can't take that from him. But like I said, I don't know when they're gonna get him the ball or how they're gonna get him the ball. But like I said, you really can't pass that pick. So even though they selected a player that was not on their draft needs, because they needed a receiver, I don't know why, but I mean, I guess you can use them in that format. But they really was looking for. Let me see. They needed a defensive lineman, cornerback, offensive lineman, safety, quarterback. He was not on none of those needs for the Falcons. So, like I said, the pick, I understand why they did it because they went with the best player available, but they did not address any of their needs. So, the number 5 pick, the Bengals. The Bengals selected Jamar Chase. Now, this is another pick is like the best player available versus what you need. So, they need weapons, but they also need something to protect or someone to protect their star quarterback. They got hurt last year, and he was on pace to get sacked 50 plus times. The guy is tough, but he's still human. So they selected Jamar Chase, which, like I said, I don't have a problem with that pick, but you better make it work. Jamar Chase, I don't think would be a bust, but he would not get the ball if his quarterback is on his back every other play. So this is how. And I would suggest how you do this. If you don't have a good offensive line, there are ways around it. What you're going to do is you're going to have to move the pocket. You got to do some sprint out games. Put Jamar Chase in the slot or have him in some concepts that you can get the ball out quick to him. And, the guy can run. He's physical, so DBs are going to deal with him. Like I said, you got other guys that can play, but you're going to have to move that pocket. You got to use a lot of quick game, and you're going to have to run the ball. You got 2 tackles that are okay, but I don't think they're elite. So, like I said, you're going to have to do with what you got. I think the Bengals did not do a bad job, and this is actually a good pick, even though they went outside of what I thought they should have got. But, let's see if they make it work. Number 6, the Dolphins. So, first of all, the Dolphins needed a couple of things. They needed a wide receiver, a D lineman, O lineman, running back, and linebacker. I'm not going to lie, I thought they was going after Smith, but they went after Jalen Waddle. And I was like, Jalen Waddle? Are you kidding me? But something told me, hey, go back. So, like, Jalen Waddle actually got hurt this year. He fractured his ankle early in the season. And then he turned around and made up for it by trying to play in the national championship. Put his career on the line. First of all, that shows me that he has guts. Because, like, other people are like, man, I ain't playing. I'm going to get drafted anyway. So, the fact that I went back to look at his film for the previous year, I think it's going to be okay. Because, he serves 2 purposes right now. He can be a return man as well as a slot receiver. So, I have a couple things about that pick. Like I said, he can be a return man. But the thought that they passed on Smith, I'm like, okay, they need a receiver, but they need to cover another hole. So, now they got a return man and a receiver. I think his comparison at best is Tyreek Hill. Or at worst, you just drafted Ted Ginn all over again. Like I said, Ted Ginn wasn't a bad receiver. He couldn't run great routes, but he was fast as greased lightning, and he was a good return man. So, moving on to the number 7 pick. So, I did great details on the first 6, so I'm just going to read off now of what everybody else did because, some of it was great, some of it wasn't. So, we got the Lions, and they selected Penelli Sewell. I think I butchered that man's name. I think that was a good, safe pick. You already got your quarterback. Now you gotta you actually have a good solid offensive lineman. And to me, he was the best offensive lineman in this draft, in my personal opinion. So I think that was a good pick, and they needed a wide receiver, linebacker, safety, corner, O lineman. So they got one of their needs off the board. Good job, Lions. The Panthers. I know everybody thought this was not a sexy pick, but guess what? The Panthers needed a O lineman, a corner, a wide receiver, a safety, and a tight end. They selected Jace Horn. I watched some of his film. I think he is going to be pretty good. You have the speedy corner Jackson on the other side. He's a little bit bigger and a little thicker. I like him because he plays in the NFC South. You got Julio Jones. You got guys like Evans from Tampa Bay. I feel like that is the guy that you put on. He's a little bigger and he can run. He'll get physical with these guys. So I feel like he matches up well against can't think of his name, but the kid from the Saints, the bigger receiver. I think he matches up bigger against those guys. So when you have those shifty receivers, put Jackson on them. But those grown men like Julio, put him on him. I think he'll do well. So Panthers, good job on that pick. I felt like he is one of the top corners in the draft. And I don't think you missed on that one at all. And your head coach has proven that he's going to draft defense. Just look at what he did last year. So the Broncos are next. The Broncos needed a quarterback, O-lineman, linebacker, D-lineman, and running back. They selected Patrick Surtain from Alabama. So clearly I read off the needs of what they needed. They selected defensive back. Now, I don't have a problem with the pick because he's the best player available. That clearly tells me that everybody that they wanted to select had already been gone. So they picked the best player. As for quarterback, I thought that they would have went out to Justin Fields. But clearly he wasn't on their list. So that means one of the top three quarterbacks. Yeah, the top three quarterbacks that were already taken were on their list. They had no interest in Justin Fields for some reason. So they went with Patrick Surtain. Instead of getting a O-lineman, a linebacker, D-lineman, or, you didn't really have to get a running back that high. So they went with a safer pick, which was the best player available. All right. So Dallas. Dallas traded with my Eagles. I appreciate that. Dallas, I can't stand the Dallas Cowboys, especially when we're playing them. But I appreciate that. And we moved up from 12 to the number 10 pick. And we got our guy, Devonte Smith. I have been a fan of this guy since I watched the national championship. So I went back to watch what he did during the season. I think this guy, I know it's a little premature. I feel like he has a little bit of Jerry Rice in him. Like I said, he's not very big, but he's very smooth in route running. You got to be able to run routes and get separation in this league. He's not as big, so I would probably start working him in the slot to start out his career. But I would move him outside as he gets a little bigger, a little stronger. And if I put him outside and guys want to jam him, I'm just going to have formations that they can't put their hands on him. I'm going to have him off the line of scrimmage. Now you got to deal with his quickness. See what I did there? Eagles, if you need me, I will drop some plays for you to get this guy open. Call me. Like I feel like that was a very good pick, and I feel like that was one of the better picks in the entire draft because that was a need, and we got a great player. So next was the Giants, which they traded that pick to the Bears, and the Bears were not playing around yesterday. It was like Nick Foles' experiment didn't work out. They got Andy Dalton as a safe bet, but they went and got their guy Justin Fields. And the Giants felt like, hey, our guy is not within these first 11 picks, and we can get him by rolling back, which is probably their secondary option or player. The Bears got Justin Fields. I love that pick. Justin Fields, I'm pretty sure he didn't because he did not look happy. But that offense that the Bears run is going to cover up a lot of his flaws. Like he has that primary read concept that he may stick on them too long, but that coach calls a lot of good players with a lot of motions, and he's going to cover up some of those flaws. But I need Justin Fields to develop and get off that primary read a little quicker, and they run a little bit of up tempo, so it'll help him along. I don't think he'll be a day one starter, but I think he's going to be in at least by week 6 to save his job, because if they don't do well this year, he will be gone too. So next we had the Dallas Cowboys pick, and Dallas went with the linebacker Michael Parsons. I don't have a problem with that pick. I know Cowboy fans, y'all wanted Patrick Surtain, and y'all probably even would have went with the defensive back that the Panthers picked, but they weren't there, so they went with something on the need of their list. The Dallas Cowboys needed a corner, O-lineman, safety, D-lineman, or a linebacker. There was not a safety ranked high enough for that pick, so they went with Michael Parsons. There's nothing wrong with that pick. I know I talked with a couple Cowboy fans last night, and they were like, hey, he can't cover. And guess what? You have him down in the box. and don't put him in coverage. Just have him coming off the edge. He's big enough that he come off the edge. And like I said, he's going to give a lot of people problems running that 4-3 outside linebacker. So that should be an interesting pick. The LA Chargers was next. They went with Rashawn Slater Jr. as an offensive lineman. Some people feel like that was a reach of a pick. I feel like that was a good pick. I feel like he was the next best offensive lineman to go. So, and they needed it. O lineman, corner, tight end, safety, and D lineman. So they got one of their needs. Good job, Chargers. Let's see if it pans out. The Vikings trade with the Jets. And that was the pick I was talking about. They went and got the offensive lineman. They traded back up to 13 to get that guy. I don't know about that one, but, they're working on it. They're going to try to build around their quarterback that they drafted. So, New England pick was very interesting. They stayed put, and everybody said, oh, they got their guy. He's a pocket passer, and he's this, he's that. I still did not have Mac Jones in the first round. But the fact that they did not have to move to get him, and I felt like that's a safe pick because they wanted a quarterback. But like I said, I wasn't a fan of the pick because you could have got Mac Jones in the second round. You still needed a receiver, a corner, a linebacker, and a D lineman. So you could have traded down and probably still got Mac Jones later down in the draft. But, hey, Bill Belichick, you've been doing it a lot longer than I have. Let's see if it works out. Cam Newton, hope you're working out because Mac Jones is going to slide right in there. Arizona was next. They got Zaven Collins. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't see that pick coming. But they got Zaven Collins. That's a lot of people said they didn't really see a lot of spunk or jumping off the off the tape. Zaven, the only thing I can suggest is keep working. You were picked at the number 16 overall pick, and let's prove them wrong. That's all I can say. Like I said, I don't think he's a bad athlete, but some people feel like that was a reach. They needed a corner, wide receiver, O-lineman, safety, and running back, and they didn't select neither. So, number 16, you better work out. You better work out because you better make this work. I'm sorry, let me correct that. You better make this work because they reach for you, and that's the between a GM getting a bonus or getting fired. Arizona's in a tough conference. You got to bring it, son. So, Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders selected Alex Leatherwood, a offensive lineman. And the commentators are like, what are they doing? It's like he's an offensive lineman, but they feel like they could have got him later in the picks. I feel like if you run your offense a specific way and you see what he does, then you use him to his ability. Just make it work. Because I understand John Gruden is under a 10-year contract, but his time is going to run out and they're going to fire him before 10 years. They're going to pay him out and just get somebody else in there. But I feel like John Gruden is one of the most creative play callers outside of Kyle Shanahan and the coach from the Rams. Oh, I'm sorry, and Andy Reid. So I think he can make it work. And they did get a need off their list, so not a bad pick. The Dolphins. The Dolphins at number 18, they go after and get their guy. And I was excited. I was jumping up and down like I knew this kid personally. Jaylen Phillips. Jaylen Phillips have a very interesting story. A lot of people are like, well, he had concussions and he retired from football. He was at UCLA, had concussions, a couple injuries, and he came back to football. Got into the portal, came to the University of Miami, which I am a fan of. I watched him play. To me, he wore number 15, which that guy got drafted yesterday as well. I hate to say it, but to me, he jumped off the tape for me. Like, they wore the same number and played the same position, but I feel like he was a better athlete at the position. The other guy, I'm not going to use his name because he's later in the draft. I'll bring him up. I feel like he was more athletic and he can get off the ball faster. He just wasn't, his arms was just not as long. But it does help that Jaylen Phillips ran a 4.54. That is fast for somebody that's 6'5", 260 pounds. If he's coming off the edge, he kind of remind me. I know I might be reaching because I'm a Eagles. I'm sorry. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan, but I feel like he can be as good as Jason Taylor. Let that sink in. All right. So next is the Washington football team. They selected Jermaine Davis. That's an okay pick, but I feel like they didn't select what they needed. Like I said, I just gave them an okay grade for that. So depending on how the rest of their actual draft goes, it depends on. It depends on my son back there. Hold on. It depends on, you know, how their grading would go. So Washington, okay pick, not terrible. All right, so the Giants, they go and select a wide receiver by the name of Kadarius Toney. Nobody liked that pick. The Giants fans were pissed last night. I looked at it as like he doesn't jump off the charts to me. He was like a number 2 or number 3 option, but he kind of reminds me of someone that played there at Florida. And Kadarius Toney is out of Florida. He's a dual purpose guy, so you have a couple receivers already. I think he'd be great in the slot, and he reminds me of Percy Harvin. I don't think he has the top end that Percy had, but he kind of reminds me of that dual threat. He played a little bit of slot. He played a little bit of running back. So he's kind of like that gadget guy. I don't know if he's worth the 20th pick, but I kind of like the pick. Like, they need somebody that can, make some plays for him. So the Colts are next at 21. The Colts needed a D lineman, and they went with Kwity Paye. I don't have a problem with that pick because they needed a D lineman. A lot of people didn't like that pick, but I was okay with it. Like, they're a conservative team, so they went with a conservative guy. They didn't feel like he could bend very well, but what he can't do, he can be taught. He has a high motor, and he can play, so I don't have a problem with that pick. Next, the Titans. The Titans selected Caleb Fairley from Virginia Tech. They did need a corner, so I didn't have a problem with that pick. He had he had 2 back surgeries. That was the only thing that kind of like raised the red flag for me, because if it's like a knee, you make it recover from that. Ankle, yes. A back, you use your back for everything. So like, and they also said that he didn't like to tackle, but let's be realistic. I'm not drafting a corner to tackle a lion. I got him out there to cover. He can run, he can cover. I just have to have, hey, if they come your way, hold on for dear life. I don't need him to be blowing people up. It'll be great if he can, but you draft corners to cover now. So I think it's an okay pick. Vikings, they went with Darrison, offensive lineman. That was a need of theirs. They needed an O lineman, D lineman, safety, linebacker, and a quarterback. They went with one of their needs. So, man, it's a fairly good pick. Not bad, Vikings. You're going to need to protect Third Cousins out there, and bless his heart. If he gets a lot of pressure, he ain't too good. So the next pick was very interesting. I felt like it was a very good pick from the Steelers. My Uncle Mike, if you're watching this show, I actually got a chance to watch your Steelers, and you guys had no running game last year. But Najee Harris will help with that. He can catch the ball. He's big, he's strong, and he's physical. So I think Najee is going to be a great pick for you guys. It'll help Big Ben out if he's still there. So number 25 is Jacksonville. They needed a quarterback, corner, O lineman, D lineman, tight end. Nothing said they needed a running back. However, they went with Travis Etienne. I don't per se have a problem with that pick because they can get corners, O lineman, D lineman later on. So, but Travis Etienne, like I said, he is going to bring a little bit of spunk to the offense. And Urban Meyer loves those type of players. So I think that Travis Etienne will help in the fact that he played 3 years with the quarterback. Yeah, he's a Clemson guy. So I feel like they have some good chemistry there, and I think that'll work. The Brownies hosted the actual draft. I feel like their energy was great last night. They're very proudful people. Very proudful fans. Not a lot to be proud about. But the Browns are on their way up. I think they can have a good year. But they selected, a, a cornerback of Gregory Newsome II. I really didn't understand that pick because they just drafted Greedy Wims. Yeah. So that means either Greedy is not as good as they thought because they have a slew of defensive backs. So I guess they're picking for depth because they needed a D lineman, corner, linebacker, O lineman, safety. So Gregory Newsome is not a bad pick. So they're stacking up because they do throw the ball a lot in the AFC. So I don't have a problem with that pick. But Greedy Wims, you better be putting your chin strap on him and earning some play out there. So the Ravens was next. They selected Rashad Bateman. Now Rashad Bateman, I actually watched one of his games by accident. They were playing. I want to say he came from Minnesota. They were playing against somebody, and they was like 6-0, maybe 7-0 when I watched him. He can play. He can play. I'm not gonna lie, I was impressed, but I felt like, well, who is he playing against? But the guy is a little bit bigger, and he can run. But I love his off the line of scrimmage. Like a lot of DBs can't get their hands on him because it's quick too. That's very hard to find. So I feel like Rashad Bateman is not afraid to go across the middle. So he would be a not as strong Terrell Owens. So Rashad, I'm going out on a limb and said this is a great pick because they need somebody of that caliber. So you better bring it because I'm going to be watching. All right, so New Orleans. This was a shaky pick. They go out the D lineman Peyton Turner. Peyton Turner, I didn't. I felt like they could have got somebody else at that pick. But, Peyton Turner, you were a need that they had, and they actually had got a couple D linemen already in the previous draft. So either you're applying depth or the others are not as good as they thought. So you better bring it. Green Bay, Lord have mercy. Green Bay just can't get right. And, with Aaron Rodgers being in the media stating that he doesn't want to be there, they didn't help it last night by selecting another defensive back. Jeez, dude, y'all have so many receivers in this draft, and y'all didn't give this man help. Why would he want to come back? That'd be in a different video, but still, like that was terrible. Like Eric Stokes, no offense to you, but no, they didn't need to draft you. They needed offensive weapons. So Buffalo. Gregory Rousseau from the University of Miami, a D lineman. Some people felt like he should have went earlier. Some people felt like he did not do as well on his pro day. Like I said, when he played long. He could get his hands out there and he could make plays. I felt like he sat out this year because he didn't want to risk injury or COVID, which is understandable. But I felt like the things he needed to work on in his game, he could have worked on this year. And somebody told him he was going to be a first-round pick. But not this late. Like, he dropped a lot. And the fact that somebody that was not even on the draft boards that played on the same team as you got selected way higher than you. So you got some work to do. Hey, I'm a University of Miami fan. I'm proud of you. And I think that you can work on it. If he can't play the defensive end position like they want, he got to bulk up and play defensive tackle. Like I said, he has a lot of length and a lot of strength at 6'6", 265. So he can do it. The Ravens get a second pick, and they go after Jason Oweh. 1 second while this camera turns back on. But Jason Oweh is a linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, from the Notre Dame. I feel like that's a questionable pick, but I mean, they did get something off their need. So, and they love those type of players. So, I mean, they never really miss with too many linebackers. So, I mean, Jason, we're going to give you a chance. Go for it. And the Buccaneers, with the last pick, the 32nd pick, they needed a linebacker, O-line, D-line, wide receiver, and quarterback. They went with Joe Tyron. I felt like last night was a good showing of what is to come. This is my first round pickup of what everybody drafted, and I think that there's more to come. I'm gonna be very curious of who did not go in the first round that should have won the first round, and who are they gonna go to. So hopefully Sunday, once the draft is over, I'll go over who won in the draft, who were okay, and who lost in the draft. So stay tuned, stay focused, guys. End your week good. And this is your host, Ricky Stanley, and I am out of here.